You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. Can't stop me.
Good evening, and welcome to Psych Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and talking with me tonight over a nice piping hot cup of coffee is Dr. Rima, and we're going to be talking about the Seven Queendoms book. You know, this one's been out a while. I'm sure you probably have other things out in the workings, but tell me, how'd you start stumbling into this?
Well, really, it was a very personal journey. It started by discovering that I was burned out and exhausted by my life and the way that I was living and the amount of energy it was taking to run my life. And I really needed a change. And I started looking at what it was that I could do differently in my life. And it started really with an exploration into women's work in general. And people who've been around the block a time or two in women's work are sort of familiar with that maiden mother crone archetype, that
Mm-hmm.
the three faces of the goddess, it's called.
Right.
And I was kind of mostly done with my mothering phase and really not ready for crone. And I thought, my goodness, there has to be something else out here. And lo and behold, I did my research and I found the beautiful archetype of the queen.
Mm-hmm.
And she sits right there between mother and crone. And it was really life-changing for me.
And it is, and what I find sad about that is that stage of the lady's life when she is queen, when she's not ready to be the crown, she's not ready to, be the one cutting any threads or anything like that, but she's ready to take and like show the because we get a lot of writings, spiritual writings about the maiden aspect or the mother aspect and the crone aspect, but no one talks about the warrior aspect. No one talks about the queendom or kingdom aspect. It gets very overshadowed. What do you think that is?
Well, I actually think that it's quite possible that this aspect of womanhood was intentionally hidden because empowered women are not easy to govern,
Mm-hmm.
and the patriarchy is intent on governing in a particular way with
Mm-hmm.
a lot of masculine energy, and that doesn't necessarily just affect women adversely. It affects all of us adversely because we
Right.
all we all have masculine and we all have feminine energy in us. And
Right.
when part of us is not being valued and not being seen as important or having a contribution, then we become disassociated from that part of ourselves that we need. We need feminine energy just as much as we need masculine energy in
Right.
creating balance for the world. So,
Right. Yeah, but no, here I would say probably at least maybe the 80s on to about now. This is the first book I've ran into that actually talks about that. I call them the gray area. You're not, the sage or the crone. You're not the, you know, pipper little, mother and father energy. And then there's another energy that I find that people ignore a lot, and it's on both sides of the archetypes, is the word, the warrior male and the warrior female. The ones that do not want to be mothers. They want to go out, they want to take care, they want to take charge, they want to actually home in, and they don't, then they come when, everyone else is going, oh, I'm Mother Earth, or oh, I'm father energy now. And it's like, no, I'm not. I want nothing to do with that. So I really like it that you broke it into 7 different queendoms. Tell us
yeah,
about them.
well, that happened kind of organically because when I was wanting to get more sovereignty in my life, when I was wanting to feel that I had greater mastery over the life experience that I was having, I realized there were like these 7 different areas that I wanted that to happen in. And it felt like too much to try to kind of
Mm-hmm.
go at it all at once. So breaking it down into these 7 areas was a lot more helpful to me. So, I could look at my spiritual sovereignty, for example, and deal with my inner spiritual connection. That was one area that I was looking at. I looked at my mental sovereignty and how are my thoughts doing, and was I being able to see the world clearly and make good decisions.
Uh-huh.
I was looking at my physical sovereignty. How good of a job am I doing taking care of myself physically? That was kind of a big one as I was getting older. My sexual sovereignty, emotional sovereignty, energetic sovereignty, my energy as a very key aspect of this work. In fact, that was a brand new one for me, like a whole new area to look at was energetic sovereignty. And then there's Dharma sovereignty, which is really all about our medicine and our work, that what we bring to the world, what we give.
Right. And what your focus is too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you have a quote in your book that really stands out, and it's one of many that stood out to me. We can live from our scars, but not our wounds. I think that's a powerful quote. Does it have deeper meaning for you?
It was a very important discovery for me to learn that I didn't have to continue living with the unhealed wounds of my childhood. And instead, I could find what was meaningful and what wisdom I could glean from those experiences and heal. And so the idea of having a scar, it's important. We don't want to pretend these things didn't happen. Because otherwise we can't get the wisdom out of it, and it would be actually psychological denial and toxic positivity to sort of pretend that these difficult things didn't happen to us. So we don't want to do that, but
Right.
at the same time, we don't want to feel like we're constantly being defined by the traumas that we've had in our life and by the difficult experiences we've had. We want to be able to move past it.
Right. And find a new balance in it, because I hate to say this, and I'm going to sound quite cold and harsh. You can't get apologies from dead people. They don't care anymore.
Well, it's true. What you say is absolutely true. And what I found is that it's actually the people that we carry in our heads and in our hearts that
Uh-huh.
that are more important than the actual real person.
Right.
Most of our parents, I have a lovely relationship with my parents now. They're conscious. We can have deep conversations. They've grown since
Hmm.
how they were when I was a child, just like
Right.
I've grown, right, as a parent over the
Right.
years. But the parent that lives in those moments that were very harsh or traumatic or abusive, that's the parent that really we need to be working with. It's a collection of memories which are nothing more than a chain of neuropeptides,
Right.
and that chain of neuropeptides creates a neural connection inside of our neural net. And every time we touch it with something that happens in our experience that's reminiscent of that particular clump of neurons, it gets touched and it fires off this experience of, oh crap, here it goes again. And
Uh-huh.
we end up being kind of a slave to that memory and that experience. So yeah, we can't necessarily, it's not necessarily about getting apologies from our parents, although some of us do that and some of that is healing. It's the one that's still living inside of us that we need to evolve and we need to grow. And the good news is you don't actually have to be in relationship with your parent now
Hmm.
if you had to cut them off or if they've passed on.
Right.
You can evolve that parent that's stuck in your head.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of work, don't you think?
Yeah, it takes courage. It
Uh-huh.
takes commitment. But I think what happens is we finally hit a point where we say, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to be under the thumb of those old experiences anymore. I want to be the one that's choosing my life going forward. And that's why I love the queen archetype and
Uh-huh.
her noble energy. I mean, the queen doesn't take any crap off of anybody, right? So
Right.
So when you can feel into that sort of empowered place, and it's not empowered in a mean way. I mean, she's very regal and she's very noble, and she has responsibilities for her queendom,
Uh-huh.
and so it gives us a kind of a felt sense of an energy we might want to take on that allows us to do this healing work in a very positive way.
Right. Now, you do some different classes, some different groups here. I'm looking at two. You've got one in open enrollment called the Queen's Council,
Yes.
and then you've got the Queen's Court. What's the difference?
Well, Queen's Counsel is like a potent dose of immediate support, where over a period of 4 weeks, we have a very powerful container and we do 10 sessions in 4 weeks. And I've called together actually a really amazing group of 14 other faculty members to join me in this program. So
Uh-huh.
there are 7 queens, and I invited 2 colleagues for each queen to come and give us a practice, an actual embodiment practice that we can do that can help shake loose some of that old architecture around each of the areas of the 7 queendoms. So
Uh-huh.
it's really fun and it's really deep, and we move quickly, and that first really, it's from the beginning of November till just before Thanksgiving, and you get a lot of traction out of that. You sort of hit it
Right.
hard and move it forward. Queen's Court, on the other hand, is for people who are really looking for a very deep transformational experience. And so it's an annual program, and we start enrollment for that in December, and it will run all the way through 2023. And I have women who have been part of the Queen's Court, and they come back year after year because it's so deepening and so enriching, and they've changed from one year to the next. So when they get to go through it more deeply, they get a whole nother experience out of it. And
Mhm.
there's really nothing I love more than watching a woman embrace her own sovereignty.
Uh-huh. And that's important. That is so large now. People do not, don't realize how much we have given sovereignty over to the people in our relationships, to our job titles, to our careers. And I blame a lot of it on the ingenue commercial from the 70s. Like, that has done so much damage to the modern women in our life that thinks they have to be able to do it all, see it all, be the nurse, the mother, the father, the worker, the everything, and keep it totally balanced.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very poignant moment in my life. I was 13 when that commercial started running, and this idea of I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan and
Uh-huh.
never let you forget you're a man. My mom wasn't very empowered in our household, and so I, at a young age, looked at her and the way she was being treated, and I thought, well, gee whiz, I don't want any part of that. I mean, my dad was the king. He was, and
Uh-huh.
not an enlightened king. I mean, he was the linchpin around which everything orbited.
Right.
And so, I was looking for models of feminine power, and there weren't any back then. And in first wave feminism,
Uh-huh.
we really needed to make inroads into the halls of economic power. It was critical because women were being stuck in bad relationships and low paying jobs because there wasn't an entry path into these
Uh-huh.
higher levels of working. You couldn't even be a doctor. There were certain schools that were off limits. I mean, it's really, this has not been that long ago that you
No.
couldn't open a bank account without your husband or your father signing for you.
Yeah.
So we had to emulate masculine power patterns in order to
Right.
get let into those places.
Right.
But the real truth is that it doesn't work so well for us the way our bodies function.
Right.
And it's just put more masculine energy into the pot when really what we need is to balance it with feminine energy.
Yeah. And looking at classical archetypes, you're the maiden looking for the husband, and
Mhm.
or wife, or whatever archetype you want to take on there. Then you become the mama, And then suddenly, and a lot, then
They
you
want to
take
put you out to pasture, right?
yeah, they want to put you out as a crone, to go sit in your woods and be left alone. And a lot of women, I'm sorry, when they're hitting 46, 50, 56, they're not even in the mood to be crones.
No, we're just getting started.
Exactly. Most of the men are ready for a nap, and the women are like, come on, let's go do things. And it's like, where do I fit into the societal view here?
Yeah, and here's the thing about it. We have at that point in time, we've got experience,
Mm-hmm.
we've got resources, hopefully, and certainly we've got inner resources. And
Uh-huh.
and the thing about the queen, where she gets her power, is her understanding that it's her time and her turn to
Mm-hmm.
receive the what's coming to her, what's her
Right.
due. She's been building all this time, and now instead of being in this push outward flowing, it's
Uh-huh.
really all about her receiving. And this is such a difficult concept for a lot of women. When I begin working with them, like, what are you talking about? I don't know how to receive. And then I ask them, well, do you feel overworked? Do you overgive? Do you feel like you're being met? Do you feel like you're the one who's carrying all the responsibility? And most of them say, yeah, I feel like that a lot of the time.
Uh-huh.
And then I ask them, well, how good are you at receiving help?
Right.
And
And
they're
I'll be
like,
blunt, they suck at it.
yes, exactly. And it's in part because we move too fast. We don't even know what we need. We're just running from one fire to the next.
Right.
Another reason that we sometimes reject help is we're a little bit suspicious of it. Like, we
Uh-huh.
worry, if I receive your help, what does that mean I'm going to be on the hook with you
Right.
for? Um, Sometimes we just reject it because it's not the way we would do it. So
Right.
instead of being able to take what's being offered, we criticize it.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, there's no faster way to train people not to help you than to reject and criticize the help that they offer.
Exactly. And
Um,
the
and
other part of that, and I think, and I don't remember because again, I read your book over a weekend. It's that easy of a read, guys. And men pick this up. I'm tired of hearing, oh, it's Queendom great. Learn what to do when your kids leave home, and all you got to do is look at your wife. And she looks at you and says, I'm starting a Tupperware business. And before you know it, went off and started her own company and forgot to even decide to even ask you what you thought because she's tired of hearing your crap. But isn't this around the same time that the second Saturn return hits in a woman's life?
Yes, it's true. So we have an opportunity with that to kind of re-examine what our focus is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is, you really can access this archetype at any age.
Right.
We can still access our maiden energy
Uh-huh.
and our mother energy when we want to gestate something and birth something.
Uh-huh.
We can even get in and pull a little wise woman energy from the crone. But what's different about the queen is she is very clear that it's time for her to be on center stage of her own life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're done having the focus of our life primarily be someone else, our husband, our children, our boss, the work life, whatever it is. And we realize, hey, the clock is ticking. And if I'm not going to take care of myself now, it's never going to happen.
Right.
And this is an important correction that we need to make in our lives if we're going to be able to have some fun, along the
Mm-hmm.
way.
Right. Now, what's these shadow queens you got dancing around here?
Hmm. Yeah, that's such a powerful piece of the work. So each of the queens oversees a particular domain, as we talked about already.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeking to do is be very balanced in our expression with that domain. So you can imagine all the queens kind of lining up in a row.
Right.
But sometimes we are under expressing in a certain domain. We don't have enough of that energy for our spirituality, or we don't have enough of our ability to connect and be in the place of loving, or we don't have enough access to our sexual sovereignty, so we become very stagnant. That creates a whole row of shadow queens that are under resourced. Then you can have the opposite problem where you've got a little bit too much of it going on, and instead of being very empowered, as the empowered queen, you become the cutthroat queen, where you're off with their heads, and everybody has to, watch out around you because you're over in your power.
Right.
So you can go from one side to the other, where you can lean too much into too much of a good thing or not enough of a good thing. And we're always seeking to create a sense of balance in the center line for each of these queendoms.
Now, on your website, you've got this quiz for queen to discover which type of queen you are. Do you want to we got to take a break, and when we come back, do we want to talk about the 7 queens?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, and then we'll talk about their evil stepsisters.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Van chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit tracyvann.com, TracyVann.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the High Priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and I let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you have come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available if you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out. I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
Welcome back. Okay, so let's talk about these 7 queens. Now, first of all, you have a lovely quiz on your site that they can go take, and it's quite fun. I just don't mind doing the commercial again, and it says that I'm in my divine queendom.
It doesn't surprise me that you would be most attracted to the Divine Queen, because she works in alignment with the crown chakra, right? So it's all about being open and being receptive to that guidance from our spiritual connection, right? So
right.
So one of the cool things about her is she oversees spiritual sovereignty. So anybody who's ever had any trouble with religious abuse
Uh-huh.
or has found their way broken out of an old dogmatic religious experience. I grew up Catholic, and so for me, it's just still this recovering from that experience. and
Right.
and what she does is she helps us understand ourselves as primarily spiritual beings first.
Right.
And so we know our truth. She oversees the right to know ourselves as divine beings and expressions of the divine on earth.
Uh-huh.
And so there are a number of in the book. It's not a just sit back and read book. It's a very active book. It invites you
It is.
into inquiry, and so there's a lot of questions there that you can
Right.
answer about how your growing up years help to shape your experience of yourself as a spiritual being.
Right.
And so that's the first domain, is the spiritual divine queen. We can also look at the visionary queen. She's one of
Uh-huh.
my favorites. She's all about helping us move past the challenge of illusion.
Right.
And she does that by making sure we're able to see clearly. She works with the third eye chakra, and she's all about mental sovereignty. Are we clear about our thoughts? Are we uh, confused all the time? That's if we're underexpressed, or maybe we could be in the shadow of being in arrogance,
Uh-huh.
where we have an opinion about everything and everyone and think we know it all and forget to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
That can be an expression of being overly reliant on our mental capacities.
Right. Now, the other queens, the one that caught my eye, and it's because I see a lot of, I don't know, it just screams the Morrigan has arrived to me as the empowered queen.
Yeah. She's a beautiful queen. I think this kind of the reason that it was for me in my life, that my power center has been my big challenge of learning to really embrace my power. And I did not have good models of power when I looked out in the world and in my own home. I think sometimes we get afraid of our power because we've seen how power can be so terribly abused.
Uh-huh.
And I had a great Italian temper, so I was like that, Red Queen from
Uh-huh.
Alice. I call her the cutthroat queen. The
Uh-huh.
the empowered queen carries a sword. I mean, that's her job. She carries the sword of truth. But the difference is, instead of using it to cut somebody else's head off, or we use it sometimes to cut our own head off, that's when we're in the beheaded queen, when we don't have enough of our own power. The real job for that sword, the empowered queen, is she takes it and she plants it in the ground,
Uh-huh.
and she is able to stand and take a strong and firm stand and say, this is where I'm at. This is what my boundaries are. This
Mhm.
is what's true for me. This is what I am intending to do. I know that I have a right to my power,
Uh-huh.
and I don't need to use my power in such a way that I'm trying to have domination over someone else. And
Right.
it's a completely different form of power. So the empowered queen is so amazing.
And then you have the loving queen.
Right? She sits in the heart, of course, and she is responsible for helping us connect to our loving nature and to know that we have the right to love and be loved. And
Mhm.
here's the thing with this queen that trips people up sometimes, is they want to make it about everybody else. They want to make it about whether or not the people in their lives are loving them right, and why aren't they receiving my love? And it really starts with, how are you doing with loving yourself? Are you receiving your own love very well? Are you capable of loving yourself? Are you in real self acceptance? Are you okay with the fact that you're not a perfect person? And can you hold yourself with compassion? That can be really difficult sometimes for people that believe that they have to be the strong ones all the time, and so they kind of hide their own softness, they hide their own vulnerability, and
Mhm.
they don't accept very often. This has been a part of the inner mean girl that comes out, that she doesn't want to accept the fact that truth matter is we need other people, and we have to be okay with that.
And the expressive queen.
She's all about our dharma and our work in the world, our medicine. So she sits up here in the throat, and she helps us to really know that we have to tell the truth in the world. We have to tell the truth to ourselves first and foremost, so that we can express the truth of who we are. She's all about authenticity.
Uh-huh.
And, most of the time we run into trouble with our relationships because we hide parts of ourselves, or we pretend that it's okay. We pretend it doesn't matter. We tell ourselves it doesn't matter, but then
Mhm.
it goes on and on. And eventually we get to the point where it's like, okay, we've had enough. But if we had spoken up early and said that behavior doesn't work for me, and let that person either leave if they were not willing to get in alignment with us,
Uh-huh.
or have the chance to actually say, you know what, you make sense about that, I'm going to make that shift. If we don't do that early on, we end up paying for it much later in life. So having your expressive queen and your voice available is a critical part of being successful as a sovereign being.
Yes. And then the passionate queen.
Now, she's a fun one because she oversees sexual sovereignty. And, sometimes people feel a little bit shy about talking about this aspect of us, but it's a really important aspect of being human, not just because we all want and need and enjoy having sexual connection, or we'd like to. I mean, some people don't enjoy that, in part because they've had trouble and trauma.
Right.
But for most people, it's an important and part of life. What's even more important than that, though, is our life force energy.
Mhm.
And in the Vedic tradition, they call it our Shakti. And that gets generated from the pelvic bowl. It's part of what makes life happen. This is where you see the joining of the sperm and the egg come together and create life. And so this is actually the conduit through which life force energy comes from the universal realms into our bodies. It's what makes us feel alive and vibrant and sexy and happy and full of youthful vigor. And you can have all that at any age in your life if you develop a strong relationship with your passionate queen, and
Mhm.
you allow yourself to develop a positive relationship with pleasure and with knowing
Uh-huh.
what your needs, wants, and desires are.
And then, of course, the grounded queen. Mm.
Yeah. So she sits at the base of the body with the root chakra, and
Uh-huh.
her job is to make sure that we are recognizing that we have a right to exist and a right to
Mhm.
be well cared for. It's really shocking how many of us got the message when we were young that who we are wasn't okay. We weren't pleasing to some important person in our life. We were too loud or too shy, or we were too rough or too quiet, or we didn't get the grades, or we weren't sporty enough, or whatever it was. And
Right.
for a young child, we're in a theta brainwave state, so we're incredibly suggestible. And
Uh-huh.
those comments strike us deep, and they end up wounding our sense of safety, that it's not okay to be me in the world. I'm not safe here. The people around me are not safe. I can't express myself. I can't be my true self. And the world is going to reject me. The people who love me are going to reject me and not take care of me if I don't show up in a certain way. And so we end up developing a whole series of anxieties and fears that then
Mhm.
become the lens through which we live life. And the grounded queen's job is to help us resolve all of that, to help us find ourselves, the source of our own safety within us, rather than wanting it to come from outside of ourselves.
Yes. And for those wondering, the Amazon link is put out in the chat and it will be in our show notes here. And it's actually free for you all Amazon Unlimited Prime members right now to be reading this book and working your way through it.
Yeah, if you get the ebook on Kindle, you can
Uh-huh.
get, yeah, and so it
And the
ships.
handouts are with that, right?
Yeah, it ships out for free.
Yeah.
Um, and I do encourage people to take the Queen's Quiz. It's on the website. That's also free, and you will get a packet of all full of information, even more than what's in the book, about any of the queens that you get the results for. So whatever shows up for you, you just
Right.
drop your email address in there, and we will email you a packet full of incredible information.
Yeah, like the Divine Queen one's 13 pages, guys. So that'll be direct information there to you thing. Now tell them what to expect if they join your, is it Queen's Court? Is that the one here in November?
It's the council is in November,
Yeah.
and what you will find is that you'll be part of a circle of women from all over the world who are interested in going deeper into the queen archetype. You'll get to meet some of the very beautiful faculty members that I've called into this container. You'll also have access to, as part of the program, a powerful 3-day workshop that I did called Awakening the Queen. And that's sitting inside the portal ready for you to roll with, along with all the handouts associated with that. And there's a video in there, a foundation video from a talk that I gave several years ago that really spells out a lot of key important pieces, so that as soon as you get into the program, there's stuff for you to do right away and hit the ground running. And then we'll start our calls. They're all happening on Zoom. They're live. They're not pre-recorded, but they will be recorded in case you can't show up live on any of the nights. And then all those classes will be available for a full 12 months for people to revisit anytime they like.
Very cool. And then you have the court. Now, the Queen's Court is not starting till, doesn't open up in enrollment, so, hold yourselves there, but it opens up in 2023.
Yes.
What's it like?
Well, that's so special because we will call in a group of women that are really ready for deep transformation, and we will journey together for a full 12 months. And through that process, you will really get to know how each of these queens lives within you. And not only are you in the group container, but you get to have private sessions where we're doing private shadow work to help shift the patterns that are at the root of some of our trouble. We also have opportunities for us to gather where we get to share deeply with each other what's going on in our lives and how we're being impacted by the work. We have several lessons on some very foundational concepts related to understanding how your body is a portal for healing, how important it is to understand your vagus nerve and what happens when you get triggered and how to get out of those triggery places. Really a lot of keys around how to create harmony in relationships, whether those are relationships with your children or your spouse or your workmates, your boss. And we also look at what our personality structures are and how we move energy as a habit when we feel alarmed by something, and all the information that we can glean from our habitual choice of how we move energy and how we can bring ourselves actually back into presence. So, when you get triggered, one of the things that happens is in less than a second, your brain has hijacked your thinking body and your neocortex goes offline. So the base of the brain that's there for survival strategy takes over. And you're not as able to choose the words you say or the tone of voice or the look on your face. Like, those moments I'm talking about where it's just like, oh, I can't believe I just said and did that. Or maybe
Anyway, honey, I have spirit guides that take over my voice box. Some of the crap that comes out, I'm like, I know nothing about a car, David. Thank you for making them make me look like a fool.
Yeah, well, it happens because our biology takes over. And, the thing is, it's instinctual. And what we can do is we can learn how to work with that instinct. We can learn how to get a little bit of space and time between the stimulus and the response. But actually, what's even more exciting than that is you can learn how to remove the buttons that people are pushing, right? Most of the time, people want to get rid of everybody's, let's just chop off all those fingers. Well, I don't like this person. They keep pushing my buttons. But, you get into the next marriage, or you move into the next neighborhood, or you get the next boss, and guess what? Everybody's got fingers.
Yeah.
So, you're much better off working within your own body to remove the buttons, or what we call doing buttonectomies, so that there's less place for people to find, to
Mhm.
really send you off your center.
Now, something we haven't talked about, but I see here you're grabbing your passport, taking some people along, and doing some sacred travel. What's this all about?
I like to do sacred travel journeys because sometimes it takes getting out of our personal environment in order
Mhm.
to get somewhere brand new, in order for us to then have the opportunity to reevaluate, the way we've been living life. And one
Right.
of my favorite places to go is Egypt, because it's so powerful. Talk about psychic experiences. When I go to travel there and visit some of the very beautiful power centers there, I like to go to the temples and the
Uh-huh.
pyramids, of course, and the Sphinx. I don't visit tombs. I have a sort of a feeling that it's best to leave people's resting places alone. There's plenty of
Mhm.
other power places to visit, and a lot of amazing things can happen when you put yourself in the path of very powerful sacred places, like we find there.
Yeah, it looks like you're going to Egypt in February, which I
Mhm.
understand will be lovely.
Yeah.
And then you're off to Paradise, Princess in Paradise. Where are you taking them to?
Well,
Hawaii?
the Priestess in Paradise is a program that I like to run in Hawaii. We'll be doing that again in 2024.
Okay.
And really, that's a deep dive into the Sisterhood of Anointing Priestesses, which is another part of my work in the world. I like to bring these very potent Egyptian oils,
Uh-huh.
that I got from my teacher. I study with Gamal Abdel, who's a fifth generation alchemist and a Sufi master and a Reiki master. He lives in Cairo, and
Uh-huh.
he and his family have been producing these oils in the same tradition that they've done for thousands of years there. And so he's taught me how to work with these oils that align with the chakras. There are 7 body chakras, but also the 7 cosmic chakras that live outside of the body. And
Uh-huh.
they've become a really important part of my work now, where I share those with people who are wanting to change the at the alchemical level of the energy
Right.
body.
Right. But you're not backpacking them up to the side of some Walmart special tents on the side of a volcano, or dragging them out to the Sphinx at 3 o'clock in the morning to dig for the invisible library of Edgar Casey, are we?
No, no. I like to do things that are a little more and comfortable. The
Okay.
queen, the queen travels in style. I mean,
Okay.
that's how we do things.
Yeah, because you see sacred travel now, and I'm for because I cover current events, my mind goes all the way back to the retreat in Arizona where the sweat lodge was not a sweat lodge. All I can say is it looked like Tarp City, and now everyone's like all worried about that, and I'm like, no, that's not the experience most people get.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about doing this kind of work in the world is I think we need to stay humble as teachers, and we need to
Hmm.
make sure that we're keeping our people safe, and we're
Right.
conscious about the choices that we're making. And I like to do things in smaller, more intimate groups,
Uh
so
huh.
that everybody gets private attention and private, very personalized approach, and
Right.
everybody feels seen and heard and supported.
Right. And you keep safety at the forefront. You're
Yeah.
keeping an eye on current events in Egypt, I'm sure, leading up to this trip. And, especially with like Hawaii and their volcano issues that have been numerous these past years. You're not going to be edging on the edge of the volcano.
No.
No. But plus, you also have limited, and I do mean very limited, private healing sessions that you do.
Yes, and it's been it's such a joy actually to support people in coming into greater sovereignty in their lives and to be released from the things that have plagued them. I do a particular kind of shadow work, healing work with people, and those that have the oils, sometimes we combine them together. And I've found that nothing is as effective or as fast at shifting old stuck patterns as body-based shadow work and energy work. And it's much more effective than talk therapy, where you're just kind of going around and around. I mean, there's a place for that. Absolutely. You get a chance to really be held by somebody who cares about you. But when I like to work with people, my intention is to help them move through their stuck spots
Right.
in a period of time. So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it creates a sense of self-sovereignty and self-sufficiency rather than dependency, where you're going, to get therapy over and over again. And those that like to stay in the community of practice, that's a little bit of a different story, right? So once you know what to do, we don't have to put any more knowledge in here. Really, all we need to do is practice. Just practice what we know. And it's fun to practice what we know with other people who are also doing it.
Yes. So where do you recommend someone just stumbling onto you to begin?
Well, where they can find me on my website at rimabonario.com. I'll spell it for you. It's RIMABONARIO. And as far as I know, I'm the only Rima Bonario in the world. So that makes me pretty easy to find. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. And I also have a YouTube channel with some videos over there. And I have a lot of free gifts on my website as well. And so I encourage you to get over to my website and take a look at the gifts page, try out the Queen's Quiz, and get connected. There's so much to do and learn and have fun. We can have fun learning these things together.
Yes. And, read the book. And then, see if you want to do the course. Of course, it's in November, so you got plenty of time to get through the book and be ready for the course. And then, maybe take a trip with you off to Hawaii or anywhere else.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that. There's something really special about doing sacred travel journeys where you're not vacationing as much as you are transforming. So you get to take these trips to these amazing places that are like bucket list places, but you come back profoundly changed, profoundly changed.
Yeah, and profoundly, and you see it through a different eye when you travel there under that guise versus just going to go to do the touristy things. When you go with a purpose, you sing a lot more and you feel a lot more.
Yeah.
Especially considering the number of spiritual manuals that have been written out of Cairo itself.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very, very magical place.
Yeah, one of the epicenters of spiritual growth and spiritual transformation. So this has been great talking with you, honey. We're going to go to commercial and, go check out her book and everything. And when we come back, Joe will be with us and we'll be talking hot topics and all that fun stuff. Thank you, Rima, for having coffee with me. Come back, darling.
My pleasure.
Welcome back, goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month, in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service, or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvann.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth. I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, Techie Joe here. I work with Aeson Knight and some of the best psychics in West Virginia to create amazing live streams and podcasts for the Psychic Coffee Shop Network. Together, we brew up great content discussing news, events, hot topics, and more, all from a psychic perspective. On the Psychic Coffee Shop, we interview amazing authors in the metaphysical realm. Coffee and Tea combines Aeson with Tracy, Dottie, Natalie, or Lady Gwendolyn for the good and the bad of being a psychic. Shameless Self-Promotion with Dottie the Psychic talks to leading and emerging YouTubers and business owners in our community. Mountain Bears brings you the latest in LGBT news and politics. The Psychic That Plans answers the question of, well, how a psychic plans. Plus, we're live on air. We take your comments and your questions, including psychic advice questions. Check out our amazing programming, book an appointment with top psychics, and find out all the wonderful things we have to offer at PCSBnetwork.com today.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site, right, for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. All right. Welcome, Joe. How are you, darling?
Oh, pretty good. Feeling much better now.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all ever just have one of those days where you sit down at your desk and you get so distracted that all of a sudden it's like 8 o'clock at night and you realize you have to be on a live stream and it's like, I haven't showered.
Yes.
And it's like, no, I refuse to go on a live stream and look at a hot mess. So it was one of those days. It was a productive day, though.
It was one of those days that you went to your desk and forgot your planner.
Yeah, basically. Well, no, actually, this was a planned day. This was how the day was planned. Sort of.
And people wonder why I write shower in my planner.
You know?
You know,
there are those moments.
Yeah, I had to have a really good conversation. I don't know how much you heard from Dr. Rima. I love her book. The archetypes in it is really amazing work. It's actually a breath of fresh air. We haven't seen a lot of this work out. How about you? Work on the queendom stage of life or the different stages there. What'd you hear?
Well, I was coming in at the very, very end, but it did sound like it was the very, very end of an amazing conversation, and yeah,
and it's on Kindle Unlimited, which you have because it gets built to my credit cards. So you can
well, I'll definitely be checking it out.
Yes. All right. So, what has been making your news feed?
Oh, what has been making my news feed? What? We start there? What?
Yes, we're going to start there.
No, you're not allowed to start there. No. We do have an article sitting. It's not exactly one I found, but it's sort of one we got.
Yes.
So let me go grab that real quick. Well, it helps if I scroll in the right window.
Yeah, so you can find the right window.
Oh, yes. So Saudis sentence U.S. citizen to 16 years in prison over tweets.
Yes.
An American citizen has been arrested in Saudi Arabia, tortured, and sentenced to 16 years in prison over his tweets he sent while in the United States, his son said Tuesday. Saad Imram Al-Mahdi, a 72-year-old retired project manager living in Florida, was arrested last November while visiting family in the kingdom and was sentenced earlier this month. His son Ibram told the Associated Press, confirming details that were first reported by the Washington Post. So Al-Mahdi is a citizen of both Saudi Arabia and the U.S. So yeah. It's a rough time to visit there.
It's always been a rough time to visit there. This is one of those countries that is so authoritarian, it isn't good. Of course, Saudi Arabians are Crown is trying to crack down on terroristic threats. Where do we hear that? A lot. I
don't know. I'm just curious. And I meant to research this one a little more as to what his tweets were.
See,
what did he say?
Apparently, just criticizing raising of the fuel prices.
Mm-hmm.
And different behaviors of the prince. Of course, we know the prince.
So it's general dissent.
Yeah,
it's I don't like how you did that.
I don't feel he tweeted anything lesser than what I had to say about our lovely loser of a governor.
Well, yeah, there you go. So yeah, no, I don't see that as terrorism.
Yeah,
your threshold for terrorism needs to move up a notch.
Yeah, and apparently criticizing him for the crown prince attempting to ordered a murder of President Biden.
Yeah, that's probably criticism you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like terrorism when you're don't kill people.
Or, when you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, don't let it slap you.
Yeah.
Oh,
but hey, Brenda. Hey, Shannon. Sorry, I just got caught up.
Yeah.
There were links, and there were
there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
But let's look him up on Twitter. There's got to be a Twitter link out. I mean, let's see, what gets you 14 years in prison in Saudi Arabia? Does it beat Aeson's Twitter?
Yeah. Ooh. Sorry, I was reacting to a different article, which is Biden sold my father for oil, says son of Americans jailed by Saudis for tweeting.
Yeah.
Ew.
Well, they're going to use whatever they can to get attention to the story because he's going to be 104 and not allowed to leave the kingdom.
Well, 104, he should only be 86.
Right. But he won't be allowed to leave for 104.
Oh, yeah. He won't be able to leave Saudi Arabia until he's 104. Okay, got it.
Apparently, his Twitter has been locked.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you can't.
So it's no one even knows.
Yeah.
No one even knows.
Right.
Because in most news stories, it's here's the tweets.
Right.
And it's oh, okay, well, that's cool. That's cool. Right. So they can be okay, hi, what, huh? What did he tweet? What did he tweet? Right. So I'm hoping someone caught that.
I'm looking through the Twitter search.
This is really crappy reporting.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, it's just crappy reporting. It's he was jailed.
Yeah, he was jailed. They've took his Twitter down, which of course I'm sure his lawyer suggested that.
Oh, there's his Twitter account.
Did you find it?
Believe so.
Awesome.
Well, maybe not. No, maybe. Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so Yeah, this isn't in English.
That's okay. Don't you know how to turn on your Google Translator?
No, I'm gonna walk away.
Well, just hand it to me,
Yeah.
and I'll be happy to turn on my Google Translator.
Well, no, because yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, these have been described as mild tweets.
Right.
Over the past 7 years, mostly criticizing government policies and alleged corruption.
Mm-hmm. Alleged. I think it's been quite evident.
Wow, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a problematic case.
Well, it's problematic because the U.S. diplomats seem to be moving swiftly to get our citizen out of their jail, just as fast as we're moving to get our basketball player out of the Russian jail.
Yeah. Well, and especially, like he's criticizing the government,
right,
in Saudi Arabia,
right.
He has dual citizenship and he's in his 70s.
Right.
Yeah, I would think that the US would be like, okay, let's get you out.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be really hard to be from another country and sit there and look back at that country and be like, what the hell are y'all
right.
doing? And then like not speak out on it.
Right.
Like, I think this is a perfect example of, I don't know, the blessing, the curse, the little bit of both.
Right.
Of traveling and moving your life from one country to another.
Right.
Is that X years on, like, things you lived with, things you probably didn't think about when you were there, or you chose to leave because of.
Right.
You grow a voice, and then you want to speak out on it and be like, it doesn't have to be like this.
Right.
And then you go to prison.
Right. And, you go to prison, and that is that there. Luckily, we're in the United States, and for the most part, have free speech. Debatable on social media. There was still some major suppression of our channel and many others because we don't pull punches.
Well, but then again, that is, and this is where Facebook and a lot of other sites have walked a very fine line of this is not a protected free speech area.
Right.
This is a private company that allows you to use its service to communicate. So it's a communications platform. It is not the public square.
Right.
And it's like, well worded, carefully worded there. Very, very carefully worded. Like, that Senate hearing was interesting.
Right.
But, but it is where services have default gone to, is that they do not owe you free speech.
Right.
If they disagree with your message, they can take it down.
Right.
And argumentatively, there are ways in which that's a good thing, and there are ways in which that knife cuts ugly.
Right.
So I kind of on that one. It's like, I get it, but I think sometimes we go way overboard in the wrong directions.
Right. I think that we do.
Yeah, because oh, go ahead.
I think that we, have to remember and be agile. I think we have to begin, looking at where censorship comes into play, looking at how we use our words to make them useful, and using our voice correctly, and checking our sources.
And then being aware of the fact that the things we say online, like, there's things that I'm sure we have said just in covering this topic that might get us arrested in Saudi Arabia should we ever visit.
Well, that's why
There
I'm
are-
on a no travel list. I mean, there's one of those countries that we can't travel to. Hello?
Yeah, not a good life choice.
Yeah, we will be
But no,
arrested.
but I'm just saying, like, the things that we have said.
Mhm.
You know, like, I don't think we're going to be, you know, we're going to be persona non grata in a few countries.
Right.
China, Russia.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's also being aware that, yes, we have a degree of free speech on these platforms, but not only with that comes the responsibility of understanding the limitations that those sites create,
Right.
but also the understanding that what you may do may be perfectly legal as long as you stay within the contiguous 48 states and or, you know, don't cross any angry borders. But the minute you do,
Right. And this is why I had to turn down what was it? World's Next Best Psychic or whatever, because it was being filmed in the Ukraine. And I'm like, sorry, I like my freedom. I don't want to be jailed for 60 years or face shock therapy or concentration camps.
Yeah, but Ukraine would have been fine for you, I think. It was more so if you have to go through Russia to get there.
Right.
If you have to go anywhere near Russia while you're there. If at any point you get near Russia, you're fine.
Right. Well, this was still when they had the anti-homosexual laws there. I'm like, have you seen my page?
Really? Ukraine was anti-gay? I thought it was
Yeah.
just Russia itself that went crazy.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let's see where we are. Well, same-sex sexual activity between consenting adults is legal in Ukraine.
Yeah.
But prevailing social attitudes are often intolerant of LGBT people, and households headed by same-sex couples are not eligible for any of the same legal protections and recognition available to opposite-sex couples. So basically, it's sort of late 90s in the Ukraine.
Exactly.
Like the U.S. equivalent of the late 90s.
Right.
Like, we'll let you exist. We're not going to arrest you exactly. We're just going to leave you in this perpetual limbo.
Right.
Like, you can't have benefits. You can't get married. You can't get, you can't visit your partner in the hospital. At least you're not guaranteed to be able to.
Right.
You can be evicted. You can be fired. You can,
Right.
all the things. Yeah, it's the late 90s in the Ukraine. I mean, not the worst, not the best.
Right.
Like, it's not Russia where, like, round them up, kill them all.
Yeah, it's not Russia, but still, it's, we still look at that when we go to travel. We still will not go to Indiana. Sorry, just not interested.
Oh, but looking on the bright side, in 2011 UN General Assembly Declaration for LGBT Rights, Ukraine was the only East Slavic country to express its support.
Well, that's an important
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Like, that was, like, in its opening, like, that's the last line. It's like, so things are looking up.
Right.
Like,
Well, not only that, but I don't want to be a part of any Russian studies. Like, they've done a lot of study into psychism. I really don't want to be someone's lab rat. I hate when doctors do it, and I hate even more so when government tries to do it. You want to be, like I tell all the other ones, just because you've got 5 stars on your shoulders doesn't mean you don't have to pay my appointment fee.
Well, there's that.
Your uniform don't impress me, gentlemen.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just okay. So moving right along. Oh, so what else did you find anything good?
I found something that was causing me to question here.
Ooh, question.
Apple stock ticks down on reports of cuts in iPhone 14 Plus production.
Ooh, send that over.
Coming your way.
And I did see today, and this one I can cover really quickly. So, Meta and specifically Zuckerberg are getting slammed for his continuation into Metaverse.
Oh.
Apparently this is costing the company billions of dollars. Yeah, lots of things are going wrong with this. So the company was already in trouble.
Uh-huh.
They tacked on billions of spending on top of it.
Right.
So they're struggling. They've had to make cuts and hiring freezes.
Mm-hmm.
Never a good sign for a company as big as Meta, aka Facebook. Then you turn around and the studies that they've done on sales of the Oculus headset, the Oculus 2, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So basically, most users vacate the system within 60 days.
Uh-huh.
Like they stop using it.
Right.
Like with any consistency. And then by 6 months they never log on again.
Right.
There's 200,000 people signed up for service.
Mm-hmm.
They had projected originally 500,000 by this point.
Right.
Meanwhile, they downgraded that to 280,000 and they still haven't hit that target.
Right.
And there's a lot of complaint that basically the areas that you can go into, there's only ever like 50 people on.
Right.
And when they're on, apparently they're having lots of problems with abuse and harassment.
Right.
And it's like, this is not going well.
Right.
So
well, see, here's the problem with it is if he would go and do it like our beloved Second Life, to where I can sit here and play Metaverse without that stupid headset on that looks awful.
Mm-hmm. So you're wanting a more Second Life experience.
Yeah, I'm wanting a Second Life Metaverse. I'm wanting to walk into my house, sit down at my table, and deal out cards.
Ooh. So one of Apple's manufacturers in China has been instructed to immediately halt production of the iPhone less than 2 weeks after its debut, according to the report. Shares of Apple dipped Tuesday on a report that the company has asked one supplier to stop producing a component for the iPhone 14 Plus while the company reevaluates demand. One of Apple's please keep repeating yourself. Other suppliers have also cut production dramatically.
Right.
Yeah. So the new report suggests that consumers are opting for the more expensive model among the two large-screened iPhones. That maps to an earlier report from Bloomberg that said the company told suppliers to bail on plans to increase iPhone 14 production in September. The iPhone 14 is the cheaper alternative to the iPhone 14 Pro.
Right.
Demand for the new models failed to spike as high as anticipated.
Right.
Apple, of course, declined to comment. Shares had been trading around $145 and lost about $4 per share on the report, but have since recovered slightly. Apple stock is now flat on the day.
Right.
So, it took a on that one.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's where everyone is at this point. Like Apple, you really have been kind of screwing around with your devices.
Right.
Like, it really isn't worth it.
Right.
Like, the options that they are offering on the low price scale are basically like recycling.
Right.
With like a tweak, just enough to need a different phone case. Typically. But just like a tweak here and there, a
Right.
recycle of what they last year offered or 2 years ago offered.
Right.
And it becomes, it gets to a point where it's like, if you're going to go big or go home.
Very much so.
Like, you either buy the Pro or the Pro Max or the biggest motherfucking phone they've got, or you just don't.
Right. And see, that's the thing there. You know, we have a friend that's been dying for an iPhone, and I'm like, no, not till December. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because, one, you don't want to spend your money on the crap, one, that isn't going to hold up. You don't want it. You want the best and the brightest and the top of the line when it comes out.
Yeah, or don't do it.
Or don't do it because it's not going to last.
Because it's not gonna, like, you're gonna end up paying a premium,
right,
for like rebadge last year's leftovers.
Exactly.
Like, they made whole new phones. It's not like they just rebadged them, but effectively.
No, effectively, it's the same thing that happened when Microsoft released Microsoft Load. We advise, do not buy a computer. Do not buy a computer for the first 6 months Windows 11 is out, because it's crap.
Well, here's my general theory on, which, I mean, that kind of hits, but not exactly where I'm at, is that every new operating system at its release is always going to have problems.
Right.
Microsoft has proven this over and over and over again.
Right.
Second to that is, don't buy a computer during the changeover.
Right.
Because you're going to see some great deals.
Right.
And they are great deals.
Right.
But not for longevity. Like, if you need to buy a computer and you're looking for a good price and you need to keep this for, 3, 4, 5 years, don't buy in that changeover. Don't do it. Because most of the deals you're going to find, they're great, but they're inventory clearances.
Right.
For Windows 10 machines.
Exactly.
Like either of these machines don't hit spec, or no one wants to touch them to find out.
Right.
And no one's going to make the effort to do it.
Right.
So you get this machine for like $200, and then you got to come visit me. And then most likely I'm going to be looking at you going, sorry, there's nothing I can do. This machine dies with Windows 10.
Right.
That's as far as it can go.
Yeah.
Not that some people didn't have a lot of luck. And like just before that, or even during that, they did buy machines that happened to cross over nicely.
Yeah.
I was really mad about one of our friends. They got a absolute steal of a computer. It's not like the best and greatest.
Right.
But it was one of those moments where I'm working on their computer and it prompted about Windows 11 and I go check and it qualifies.
Right.
And I'm like, are you flipping kidding me?
Right.
I know how much they paid for this computer. I know how much I paid for my desktop.
Yeah.
Tell me on what planet this makes sense. And it's like, well, it's a weird requirement based around the CPU and mine can be upgraded, blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
But it's like, I've got a lot of money in mine.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah. So, do you have an eye on Are You the Asshole this week?
I do.
Wonderful.
Now this one's going to be about as much a surprise for me as it is for everyone else, because I've read part of it.
Okay.
But it sounded like it was getting good.
All right.
So, am I the asshole for moving out while my parents are on vacation? I, female 20 of 3 siblings who live at home, male 22, male 15, male 12. My older brother does not work and does not go to school. My middle and youngest brothers are in middle and high school. I have been taking care of them for about 6 years now. My parents both work. I am the only one who cleans and makes food and takes care of the dogs. I have access to a car that I share with my brother, but he takes it to go see his friends and hook up with Tinder randoms. So I had to bring home groceries on the bus because, oh yeah, I also do the grocery shopping. I've tried talking to my parents about it, but they say that my brother is finding himself, and the younger ones have to concentrate on school. I'm in my 3rd year of college, and it is wrecking me. My boyfriend, 24, has talked to his parents, and they're letting me move into the apartment over their garage. He will be paying the rent for the apartment. He lives at home rent-free, but also graduated and has a great job. So we talked about it, and it is fair. We are committed to each other, but we are way too young to think about moving in together or getting married. I'm not saying that this is too young for anyone else. We just know what we want in life, and until I get my nursing degree and get a job, we aren't ready. My parents went away this weekend for NASCAR in Vegas. It is their 3rd vacation this year. I do not begrudge them their holidays. They both work hard, but I am tired of being an unpaid nanny dog sitter. So I grabbed my laptop, clothes, and a few other things that I had been gifted. I waited for my older brother to get home, and I left. I told him I was going out for milk, but my boyfriend was waiting in the car around the corner. He started texting me about 20 minutes later saying he needed the car. I did not take the car. I left all the keys on the counter, even my house keys. My grandparents pay for my education, so there is literally nothing my parents can hold over me. I let him know I wasn't coming back, and I let my parents know after the last race that I had left him in charge of the younger kids and bailed. They drove straight home instead of spending the night partying and driving home today. Everyone is mad at me for being so immature and thoughtless. I just don't care anymore. I talked to my grandfather, and he says that I'm right. My brothers can look after themselves. My mom keeps calling and complaining that the house is a mess. I was only gone for 9 hours before they got home, but my brothers are pigs. My older brother says I am an asshole because my parents are making him do everything that I used to do. I cannot find it in myself to give a shit.
You are not the asshole.
You're not the asshole. I mean, I kind of wish you were the asshole just because, like, I gotta say, like, it's kind of a dick move. Like, wait till they're gone to the race and then, like, bye. Peace out. Not doing the confront. Not doing any of this. Just like, fuck it. I'm going out for milk and never came back.
Right.
Little bit of a dick move, but not the asshole. Like, they earned it. They earned it.
No, honey. Do you know how many times a week I think about getting in the car and going for milk?
I know.
Okay. So amazing.
Well done. Well played. Yep. I'm down for that one.
All right. So.
All right. Where's your relationship advice? Like what poly?
No, this is regular relationship advice.
Oh, regular relationship advice.
Yes, poly is on Fridays. Our poly couples know that they come for Fridays. This is a serious one.
Oh.
Here we go.
Okay. Getting tested for STD, STI with a new partner. Did you and your partner get tested for these things before you engaged in the act, or did you just take a chance? I've just pretty much initiated a friends with benefit relationship with a coworker, and I'm going to bring up getting tested, birth control, condoms, etc. before we start. This would be my first time ever having sex, and I was wondering how many of you got you and your partner tested beforehand, especially with the high demand for oral from both genders. That's a serious one, and
get it. If you're over the age of 18, every 6 months to a year, you should be getting your STI test until you're 95.
Well, yes, at least every 6 months. I mean, like, depending upon what you're doing and who you're doing it with and how much you trust them, and like 6 months is the general guideline.
Right.
Like, if you're in a continuous monogamous relationship that you believe to be monogamish, at least, like you're supposed to be monogamous, but you don't think there's cheating, like, you can go a year.
Yeah.
But like, okay, if you're hitting the, like, if you know your partner is having sex with other people, or you're doing the friends with benefits hookups, and your friend with benefits has other hookups, and on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you might want to start looking a little more often, like shoot for that 90 day.
Right.
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months, every so often. Why do I say this? Here's why I say this. Because you have to question yourself, how much do you trust your new partner's ex and their ex's ex?
Basically.
And if you wouldn't trust them as far as you can throw them, and they're the average 172 pounds, and the most you can throw is 30 pounds, exactly. It has nothing to do with your partner, the choices of your partner makes. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and then there's just the realities of, like, I don't know. For me, it was never even about trust exactly. It's just statistics. It's just statistics.
Well, see, this is where I do not get why this is not common health care. Every 6 months, our doctors are running our blood panels on our, vitamin D level and our cholesterol and our, this, that, and another. Why do we as adults have to look at them and go, by the way, I'm sexually active. Can we get some blood work done? Let's get a urine analysis going.
One. That was part one of it for me. Part two of it was, and then I had to go, wait, what the hell did you run?
Right.
And it's like, okay, that's not a complete sexual health screening.
Right.
That's like bits and pieces of a sexual health screening. Like, do I need to go to the county health department and be like, hi, I'm a hoe? And just, let them do the 6 month run that they're supposed to?
Well, that's it. I don't get why this is not part of the common health studies.
It isn't. I mean, I think some of it is GPs have gotten used to just, they don't do that.
Right.
And I think we've become very, and I know, like, in community, we became really reliant on, like, county health services in, like, a multitude of dimension.
Right.
One, because they were the first ones to react positively, so you didn't have to go through is my GP gonna freak out?
Right. Plus, this is also a good time for you to grade your GP and to know if you need to fire him. And here's why. I literally fired a GP because I got into an argument with one. Oh, you don't need that. You're in a Who said I was in a monogamous relationship, first of all? Are you in my bedroom? Do you see my black book? Second of all, yes, run it. Fired. Did not go back to visit him.
Well, and there's a lot more to that. Like, just because, like, even if your GP had been right, and they're meeting you and they believe you to be in a monogamous relationship because you believe you are in a monogamous relationship, doesn't mean you're in a monogamous relationship. A lot of people find that out. Like, I don't know, a large percentage of divorces. Have you seen the divorce rate? Do you know what the leading causes of divorce are? Usually cheating and money. So,
one or the other.
And sometimes it's just oh God, what is the word? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other is the next thought that comes to mind. But anyway, of like which one your partner actually cares about. The fact that you're broke, or the fact that you went broke paying for dates and prostitutes and blow, and I mean that in terms of cocaine. Or, like, which one was more important?
Yeah. Or, that's what, you went broke because your job lost and because you had to feed your ego, so you got on blow and you didn't make good sound decisions. It don't fucking matter. Yeah. If you are above the age of 12 or 14, whenever you become sexually active, you should be getting tested. Why the medical community hasn't got up with this is beyond me.
And again, I think some of it has to do with, like, who GPs see. I believe that most GPs assume that women that they see
Mhm.
have a gynecologist who does that for them.
Right.
So, you know, lesbian or straight, they assume that all their female patients are seeing a gynecologist.
Right.
For their male patients, I think there's, considering we still have a problem with men seeing a doctor at all, that by the point that they're there, it's already a tenuous situation.
Mm-hmm.
As in, most of their straight male patients don't want to be there in the first place. They're only there because it is serious, or it's something they feel may be serious, or that they have been nagged into going to the doctor about.
Right.
I don't know that they want to get in the middle of it unless they are symptomatic. Like, it burns when you pee.
Mm-hmm.
What is this sore on my genitals?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those
1 in
kinds of
5.
things.
1 in 5.
What's your statistic there?
1 in 5 people will get an STD this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then okay, and if we're going to go there, I always have to go to and 50% of the world has herpes. Can we all calm the fuck down?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like, that's a serious statistic. 50% of the world's population has herpes.
Right.
But when we talk about it, we talk about it like it is this horrendous, scary, horrible thing. I'm sorry. 50% of the world? Like, that's 1 in 2.
Yeah.
So, sort of like that moment, like, I remember freshman orientation in college. And they told us, look to your left, look to your right. One of these people will not graduate with you. That's a 1 in 3 statistic. Yeah. The world is at 1 in 2.
Yep.
Now, the U.S. is a little bit lower. We don't have the largest population in the world, but still, that number is high. HPV, if you're over the age of, I believe it's 40, you have it. Just, you have it.
Right.
Like, moving right along, you have it. There is a vaccination for that. Please get it if you're under, I think it's the age of 26.
Yes.
Or the age of 30 now. I don't know. But no, get it.
Yeah, but have some serious talks with your doctor with other things than your cholesterol.
Exactly. Well, and then there's also the problem that we have that a lot of people after the age of 18 don't show back up at a doctor's office until they have major symptoms of something. Like, they show up for colds and flus. They show up when they absolutely simply must go to a doctor.
Right.
But for the most part, most people between 18 and I think roughly 45.
Right.
That's all they're showing up for. Then usually somewhere around 45, they show up with, like, precursors for a heart attack, a stroke,
right.
Diabetes, all these things,
right.
Liver failure, because that's fun.
Right.
Because no one tells you that about drinking, is that, oh yeah, you're going to go somewhere around your mid 40s, that liver is going to be like, dude, the fuck are you doing?
Right.
So anyway, I think that's a large part of why, like, GPs have forgotten how to do this. Is most of the people that they see, I don't think it's something that matters to them or their healthcare, and they may just be flat out offended, like you're accusing them of cheating.
Possibly, but the other part of that is that maybe that the doc don't ask me to run my cholesterol. He doesn't require me to sign a paper that says I won't eat pork for the next 2 weeks if my cholesterol is high.
True. Oh.
So with that, we got a very busy week here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be in tomorrow night with Lady Gwendolyn. She's going to be rocking and socking the cauldron readings. Then Thursday night, I'm having tea and coffee. Then Friday night is Mountain Bears. And of course, you get Saturday night off this week. And then Sunday night, we will be back with Psychic That Plans.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, Vanna, why don't you take it away and tell them all about the people that make this possible?
All right, so of course we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryan, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Donna White, and the Laughing Tree Grove. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And next week for the Psychic Coffee Shop, it'll be a double shot. So with that, good night, y'all.
Good night.
You can't tell me the deck is stacked. You can't whisper behind my back. You can't show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.